ranked in the top 10 on the block I lived on.
In the beginning, he was sort of kind of an air guitar guy, you know, and going completely, crazy with his broomstick or whatever, or a kind of a racket, you know. Of course, a tennis racket can also be sort of an air guitar, right?
Drums had been the kind of hobby away from tennis, and at the tail end of 1979, there was what was called the new wave of British heavy metal. Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, Motorhead, Saxon, Typhus of Pantang, Diamond Head, Angel Witch, the list goes on. It was the attitude. The attitude came from Motorhead.
Rock and roll is supposed to bring you crazed joy and rebellion for no apparent reason, for its own sake, right? That's what it started out as, music to piss your parents off with.
James und Lars trafen sich 81 in Los Angeles zufällig durch eine Musiker-gesucht-Anzeige in einer Lokalzeitung.
Under heavy metal there were two guys and it was me and him. Lars had this drum kit. It was 10 different colors, one cymbal. He hit it, it kept falling over.
Finally, he sits down and he's just like, I'm going, you sure this guy played drums before?
Was Lars musikalisch fehlte, machte er durch seine Kontakte zur Heavy-Metal-Szene mehr als wett. Lars hatte einen Freund, der eine Platte mit lokalen Heavy-Metal-Bands machen wollte.
Lars called me up and said, hey, if I put together a band, could I be on your compilation album? I said, yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Lars had really had a spot on the record, but no band. So, in my kind of will and maybe greediness to get going in this thing, said, okay, we'll hook up.
Die Band hatte aber nicht nur einen Platz auf einem neuen Album, bald hatten sie auch einen zweiten Gitarristen, Dave Mustaine.
I went in there and I set up my gear, I started warming up, and these guys were all in the other room, and I walk in there and I said, come on, let's go, and they said, you got the job, and I went, well, that's easy.
Metallicas wilder Zwei-Gitarren-Sound war 81 ein direkter Angriff auf LA's Softcore-Glamrock-Szene.
We weren't doing what they were doing. They were playing pretty much cheeky music because they wanted the girls, and all we wanted to do was rule the world.
If you came here to see spandex and big hair, this ain't your band, and that was kind of became our war cry,
Die Teilnahmslosigkeit, auf die Metallica in den Clubs von LA stießen, wirkte wie Öl auf ihr aggressives Feuer.
That developed our style. We were up on stage, we wanted attention. We're gonna play louder, we're gonna play faster.
Our whole existence pretty much was for guitar dominating the world and getting liquored up.
Im Winter 81 brachte ein Benefizkonzert für das Metal Mania Magazin Metallica nach San Francisco. Die Stadt war die Wiege des neuen Heavy Metal.
Everybody just wanted to make the most obnoxious, loudest, scare your parents, annoy people, fastest music you could.
That heavy crunch stuff was way new, and everybody loved it, It tickles your same kind of funny bone that makes you break windows when you're a kid.
Einer dieser Fans war Exodus-Gitarrist Kirk Hammett.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was the most original, heaviest, fastest thing I had ever seen in my life.
Als Metallica nach Los Angeles zurückkehrte, wuchsen die Spannungen innerhalb der Band. Dave Mustaines Alkoholkonsum war außer Kontrolle.
There was always some clashing between Ron and Dave. Ron couldn't hang. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Ron war bald draußen und Metallica auf der Suche nach einem neuen Bassisten.
Lars had asked me, they were kind of looking around for another bass player, and he asked me if I knew anybody. I said, well, why don't you guys come down and see this band Traum at the Troubadour? They're pretty cool. I think you might like the bass player.
When I first saw Cliff Burton, I'd never seen anybody quite like him on stage.
And his head banging on stage, nobody banged like him. It was insane. I remember the first time I saw them play with him, I was like, oh my God, look at that guy.
The next day after a performance, he'd get up and, oh God, my neck, I can't understand. Cliff, what do you mean? Your neck, you're bouncing your head up and down all night long, and you wonder why your neck hurts. So, but anyway, he kind of smiled.
After 6 months of courting him, it just came to the point where he would join the band on that one condition, which was if we wanted him in the band, Metallica goes to Northern California.
LA sucks!
We really had no problem with that. LA wasn't treating us very well at all.
Metallica siedelten 83 nach San Francisco über und mieteten ein kleines Haus in El Cerrito. Es waren magere Zeiten, aber sie hatten endlich ein Zuhause für ihre einzigartige Metalmusik.
We just moved all the furniture out of the house and invite 50 headbanging friends over put Venom on the stereo and just thrash the place, you know?
By the time you walk in the club, we just be like, metal rules! That guy's got a blonde stripe in his hair. Kill him, kiss that Motley Crue creep. You know, it's like that. At one point, we were tearing people's shirts off that said bands we didn't like.
There was kids with denim jackets on that had Metallica patches on the back, and the support band was playing, and they turned around, they turned their backs on them, and we're standing there doing this, you know? And it's like, wow, they're loyal to us. They're our people, you know?
Metallica hatten sich in San Francisco mit dem exzentrischen Bassgenie Cliff Burton zusammengetan. Zu dieser Zeit versorgte ein lebhafter Untergrundhandel mit Kassetten die Metal-Fans mit Material der neuen heißen Bands.
A band that would never play once would get famous around the world within a few months just from the copies of their demo getting around all around the world.
Als Lars Metallicas Demo-Tape No Life Till Leather in Umlauf brachte, wurde die Band im Underground ein sensationeller Renner.
They had this huge, giant following before they even really had a record out.
Metallicas Demo gelangte in die Hände von Johnny und Marsha Zezula, die in New Jersey, der Hauptstadt der wachsenden Heavy-Metal-Bewegung an der Ostküste, einen Musikflohmarkt mit dem Namen Rock'n'Roll Heaven betrieben.
Metallica was the answer to America's prayers. They were the first band we heard that really made America look
They gave
good.
the American headbangers something to hang their hat on.
Johnny Z bot der Band an, sie zu managen und ihnen einen Plattenvertrag zu besorgen.
So we come out to New York and we meet this guy who was giving us, $75 to drive across the country. It's like, hi, we're Metallica. Hi, I'm Johnny Z. Well, John, come here. Well, you see the guy with the Dave Mustaine? We're actually going to get rid of him next week. Whoa.
That trip was very detrimental to my leaving the band. When we would get drunk, they would get silly and I would get really violent. And violent people and silly people don't mix when they're inebriated.
They came to the East Coast, hungry with a goal and a mission. We were ready to guide their career. We had shows for them, but we were not people of means. And they wanted to rehearse, and they wanted to play. But we said, what are we going to do? So Anthrax had a place, a little rehearsal place in Queens.
We set him up with a room at this place, the Music Building in Jamaica, Queens, which was basically what would be now considered like a crack house.
We had the added luxury of also living there because we couldn't afford to live anywhere else.
We had a toaster oven and an igloo cooler that we lived out of, all four of us in this place.
On a good day, we would sneak down to a local McDonald's. On a bad day,
It was loser's lunch, we called it. It was bologna on hand because they didn't even have white bread. I mean, nothing.
We were sleeping on U-Haul blankets, you know, that was us. And we all got up early one morning and walked into the other room where Dave was sleeping and...
Shake, shake, shake. Dave wakes up and rolls over. And, what's going on, guys?
I look up and I see the four of them. They said, you're out of the band. And I said, what, no warning? No second chance?
The famous line, Dave, you're out of the band. When's my plane leave?
Well, you're spending the next 4 days on a Greyhound bus that leaves in 45 minutes to pack your together and let's go to the bus station before you even know what hit you. And that was that.
Dave saß noch nicht einmal richtig im Bus, als Kirk Hammett in New York eintraf, um bei der Band vorzuspielen.
I walked in, and those guys were sleeping. And I looked at my watch, and it was like 6 o'clock at night, and they were just getting up. And I was thinking, how rock and roll.
The first song we played was Seek and Destroy. And Kirk pulled off this solo. It was like, things are gonna be all right, man.
And we went to the studio and recorded Kill 'Em All. From then on, I thought, well, I guess I'm in the band.
We parlayed everything we had to make this Kill 'Em All record. We thought this was an amazing record. It was a classic.
We have a debut album out on Megapush Records. It's called Kill 'Em All. We're glad to kill all you tonight.
Die internationale Metal-Szene wartete nur auf Metallicas erstes Album Kill 'Em All und die Verkaufszahlen kletterten auf 300.000. Fast das gesamte Jahr 83 war die Band auf Tour, um sich und ihr Album einem breiteren Publikum vorzustellen.
They lived it, they breathed it, they slept it, metal. And the kids did the same exact thing.
We were very proud that we were four regular guys in street clothes getting up there and jamming.
Why should we change? We're on stage. We're not trying to be something big and fancy, It's just us doing what we do. Let's keep it that way.
1984 hatte die neue amerikanische Metal-Szene in Metallica ihre Helden gefunden. Als das zweite Album Ride the Lightning by Elektra herauskam, ging es sofort auf Goldkurs.
Because of the buzz that they'd created live, it just worked out perfectly for Elektra. So it was one of those things that felt like a no-brainer. Just we put out the record, and because of word of mouth, kids just started buying it.
Tournee wurde Metallicas schamloser Hang zum Alkohol zur Legende. Und die Rockpresse nannte sie schon bald nur noch
Alcoholica. Alcoholica.
Alcoholica justified, absolutely.
It basically grew out of our love for vodka.
They were never a drug band. They were never, you know, like the American bands all want to get high. They like to drink.
We had discovered this lovely after-dinner drink called Jägermeister. There was a certain opiate in it that got you extremely violent.
You'd have people like literally walking into walls, taking their clothes off. I mean, this stuff was lethal.
Standing up on the bar, taking a piss, whatever, you know, getting your nuts out at a restaurant.
This is sort of like a East Bay attitude, you know, crush, kill, destroy, smash.
You know, whatever the bill was, it was all worth it. It's all rock and roll. It's all being on tour.
Ihr raues, chaotisches Leben auf Tour hielt sie aber nicht davon ab, im Frühjahr 86 ihr drittes Album zu veröffentlichen. Master and Puppets ging 1 Million Mal über die Ladentische, ohne dass es im Radio oder auf Video erschien. Metallica gingen 4 Monate lang mit Ozzy Osbourne auf Tour. Dies sollte aber ihr letzter Auftritt als Supportband sein.
They really give me a run for my money every night. The crowd were going nuts for them, you know, stealing the show most of the night. They were really hard to follow.
Auf Tournee stürzten sich Metallica in die klassischen Rock'n'Roll-Exzesse.
And when you're 22 years old and all you want to do is get laid and get drunk and live all those excesses that you hear about or read about, and all of a sudden they're right in front of you.
We'd come right off stage into the showers, and there'd be, you know, a whole locker room shower filled with women. I mean, how great is that?
That happened. Plenty. Tub tarts, shower. 8 women washing you down at once, you know? Not a bad feeling.
You have a real sense of invulnerability when you're on tour because you're with this group of people, you know, a group of guys, and you really become, seriously, you feel like Superman. You're on this bus, nothing can touch you.
Aber Metallicas wilde, rasante Fahrt würde bald ein abruptes Ende finden. Am 27. September 86 befand sich die Band in ihrem Bus auf der Straße zwischen Stockholm und Kopenhagen.
On that European tour, you know, we had a really bad bus.
These particular buses weren't purpose-built that we have now. They have normal windows like a passenger coach, and the bunks are just bolted in. Then they put cardboard over the windows.
Am frühen Abend hatten Kirk und Cliff nach einer kleinen Auseinandersetzung darüber, wer wo schlafen würde, die Karten entscheiden lassen.
The first card that Cliff picked was the Ace of Spades, and he looked at me and said, "I want your bunk." And I said, "Fine, you take my bunk, I'll sleep up front. That's probably better anyway, you know." Later on that night, about 5 or 6 in the morning, I heard a skidding, I heard a vibration, and then this motion. I thought we were going off a cliff.
He overcorrected to get back onto the road, and as he did, the back end came around this way, and it started chomp, chomp, chomp.
It's the sound of screeching brakes and being flipped around like a piece of clothes in a dryer.
Scott woke up, like hot coffee getting poured all over me, you know, from the coffee machine, and, you know, the bus was on its side.
What happened? Is the bus gonna blow up?
Or I jumped out of the bus and took off. Did the 100-yard dash in about 7 seconds flat.
And we're standing out there in our underwear and, you know, 10 below.
And I heard everyone screaming except for Cliff. And I thought, oh my God, something's wrong.
Seeing the bus driver just, you know, freaking, frantic.
And I turned around and I saw Cliff's legs sticking out from underneath the bus.
I went to, you know, pull him out, wake him up or whatever. It's like, you know, he's not moving.
And the driver walked over and started pulling on the blanket that was underneath the bus next to Cliff. And I said, "What are you doing?"
I grabbed him and said, "Don't you take that away from him."
Obwohl es schlecht aussah, hoffte die Band, dass Cliff irgendwie gerettet werden könnte.
A crane turned up, a big crane with a jib and all that, and they hooked a chain around the bus, and they picked the bus up.
There's still people trapped under the bus, but everyone else was okay.
I don't know if Cliff was dead at this point or not, because the bus actually slipped back after they picked it up. They lifted it to pull him out, and it slipped back and landed again on the floor.
After that, I was in such shock that everything else for the next 3 or 4 hours, I can't even remember.
Kirk and James yelling at the driver.
What did you do? What did you do?
What happened? You know, what's going on? You know, is this guy drunk or la la la? Oh, we hit some black ice. And I recall in my underwear, you know, and socks, walking for miles, looking for this black ice, walking back on, where's this black ice? I don't see any black ice. And I wanted to kill this guy. I was gonna end him there.
In den frühen Morgenstunden des 27. September 86 starb Cliff Burton auf der Straße nahe Ljungby, Schweden. Er war 24 Jahre alt.
He just got thrown out the window and boom, the bus landed on him. And basically, by all accounts, I mean, he never woke up.
You know, to this day, I just think, you know, it could have been me, it couldn't have been me, but it's never left me to this day.
You always feel protected on tour. Nothing bad can happen like this. It's not allowed. You know what I mean? This is rock and roll, man. Nobody dies. But they do, and it had happened, and it was hard to grasp that.
Drinkers we went back to the hotel and just drank, you know?
I remember at 4 o'clock in the morning, I could hear James down on the street, drunk, screaming, Cliff, where are you? And when I heard that, I just broke into tears, you know?
In nur wenigen Stunden erreichte die Nachricht von seinem Tod die Metallica-Fans in Amerika. Einer dieser Fans war Flotsam & Jetsam-Bassist Jason Newsted.
I remember tears hitting the newspaper. Killed in Sweden, Metallica bassist Cliff Burton, 24 years old or whatever, and I'm just lost it.
Lars, James und Kirk kehrten nach San Francisco zurück, um dem Begräbnis ihres Freundes beizuwohnen.
Lars took over from then on. And, you know, in all fairness to Lars, without Lars Ulrich, that band wouldn't be where they are today.
Unter dem zusätzlichen Druck einer im folgenden Monat beginnenden Japan-Tour ließ die Band in San Francisco 40 mögliche Bassisten vorspielen.
I can remember those auditions just being really, really bad because we were drinking throughout the whole thing. We were still grieving, obviously.
We tried out quite a few people. Les Claypool from Primus was actually one of them.
Lars was all, you're not used to playing this kind of music, are you? And I was like, no, hey, you know, you guys want to jam on some Isley Brothers tunes, you know? And nobody laughed at my joke.
He was too good. He was like, okay, you get your own thing, you know.
They never called me, and I wept like a little girl. Well, a guy would come in that just didn't look right or whatever, plug the bass in for 20 seconds, next. I mean, it was cold. And I'm just going whole. I was shaking in my boots.
Jason, we thought, was the man.
Kind of the punter vibe, but he had the energy that we were looking for. We sat down and we decided he's going to be the guy, so we took him to this place, Tommy's Joint in San Francisco, where we kind of like to hang, and took him out to grub, and Lars and I went in the bathroom to piss together. It's like, let's go tell him now, okay.
Lars comes out, do you want a job? And I go, well, I guess. And he goes, okay, you're going to be a bass roadie. And I'm like, you know, like, he goes, no, you got it, man, you're in. You want to play with us? And I'm like,
Jason's jumping off the table and doing backflips and all this stuff. It's like, okay, all right, man, you know. But soon after that was the hazing.
We gave him a pretty tough time because we didn't want him to think that he just like waltzed into a perfect situation, you know?
And then when a period of calm hits, that's when the reality starts setting in. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And then the emotions start coming out.
You know, I hate to say this, but Jason became the scapegoat for you know, the tragic loss that we had just experienced with Cliff.
Der Schatten von Cliff Burtons Tod schwebte noch immer über ihnen, als die Band im Herbst 86 nach Japan ging. Darüber hinwegzukommen war für Metallica und ihren neuen Bassisten sehr schwer.
We were all trying to see his boiling point, you know, or how much he can take, you know.
We told everyone he was gay. We'd go out to the hotel bar and like buy drinks for everyone and charge it to Jason's room.
And then we went to sushi that night. Jace, that green stuff, it's mint sauce. Put some of that, you'll love it. Wasabi.
But he kept walking into every single landmine, every single trap we set for him. And that just made it more and more fun.
Part of loving him means that
that he has to accept us for who we are, which is not easy.
I mean, everyone thinks, wow, this guy's landed the greatest gig, etc. On the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, think of all the baggage that he's got to plow through, plus he's got those three.
Metallica trauerten noch immer um Bassist Cliff Burton, aber sie fanden im Aufnahmestudio ein Ventil für ihren Ärger und ihre Wut. Ihr wegweisendes, rasend schnelles, aggressives Album And Justice for All war dem Sterben des amerikanischen Traums gewidmet und fand sofort Anklang bei den New-Metal-Fans.
With Metallica, people truly feel a part of something. They feel a part of a unit. They feel a part of an army. They really are into participating with everybody else in making this big noise back to us. Sometimes so intense that it's louder than the PA system.
They'll leave a venue like at 4 o'clock in the morning and there's kids still waiting out there. It doesn't make a difference how tired they are. They'll talk to every single one, sign every single piece of paper. They're incredibly gracious and generous, and their fans know it and appreciate it.
We're just 4 lucky fans that got together and started playing. This could be you.
Im Oktober 90 gingen Metallica ins Studio, um mit Produzent Bob Rock ihr 5. Album aufzunehmen.
So I saw them live and I was very surprised to see how powerful they were.
He came to us and said, look, you haven't captured what you're capable of on a record yet.
So I just wanted them to sound better. And basically by sounding better, hopefully the audience would get bigger and more people could get into Metallica.
Say your prayers, little one, don't forget my son, to include everyone.
Die Aufnahmen dauerten mehr als 10 Monate und kosteten über $1 Million. Die zermürbenden Sessions wurden durch kreative Differenzen und persönliche Konflikte erschwert.
Throughout the whole recording, we were so anal about everything, so protected about everything, so guarded about everything, that it created a lot of tension.
We forgot why we were there, to create and play music.
By the time the album was finished, 3 out of 4 of us were divorced.
Aber aus all dem kreativen Durcheinander gingen Metallica gestärkt hervor. Und im August 91 veröffentlichten sie ihr 5. Album Metallica. Das umstrittene Cover unterstrich ihren "Keine Regeln außer Metallica-Regeln"-Ethos. Schwarze Hülle, schwarzes Logo, keine Erklärungen.
We've got a bone to pick with these two. You know, it's called Black Album. It's called Black Album. Now, where did the idea come from to do an all-black album, Metallica representatives?
Das schwarze Album kletterte auf Nummer 1 in den Billboard-Charts und erreichte in weniger als 2 Wochen doppelt Platin. Es verkaufte sich weltweit 18 Millionen Mal und begeisterte Mainstream-Hörer für kompromisslosen Metal.
When you have a record that won't go away, it gives you the opportunity to keep touring on it.
Basically turned into a challenge for us, another challenge. Hell, Metallica, we'll tour 2 years. Screw it. We got the endurance.
In den folgenden 2,5 Jahren waren sie ständig auf Tour und gaben weltweit mehr als 300 Konzerte.
Obviously, they're known for touring and touring and touring and touring, but in this kind of music, they proved to be the ultimate road dogs.
Since day one, that's how we got our fan base. We got to love playing live. And touring was our thing.
Ihre Tour brachte die Band auch nach Moskau, wo sie vor einer halben Million russischer Rock'n'Roll-Fans spielte.
Russian boys running up, hugging you, going, "We love Metallica," you know. We've been waiting our whole lives, and the energy that we got from them was just so amazing.
Aber in der turbulenten Anfangszeit von Perestroika geriet der Enthusiasmus der Menge mit den russischen Sicherheitskräften in Konflikt. Gewalt brach aus.
It's all military, beating kids down, just whacking them. They don't understand what a release is at a show. They don't know what's going on here.
Während des Konzerts hatte die Band von dem Chaos nichts mitbekommen. Als sie aufhörten zu spielen, waren sie völlig schockiert von der Brutalität, die sich vor ihren Augen abspielte.
I believe there was like 200 rapes, 11 deaths, people just beaten to a pulp.
Im Frühjahr 1992 planten Metallica eine Sommertour mit Guns N' Roses.
We wanted to get the 2 biggest bands together on one bill and do a stadium tour across America.
I'd always had an infatuation with Guns N' Roses. Always had an infatuation with bands that are unpredictable and dangerous.
We learned a lot that summer. We learned what not to do as a rock band.
Die Tour war von Absagen und kurzfristigen Änderungen überschattet, die den ständigen Stimmproblemen von Guns N' Roses Sänger Axl Rose zuzuschreiben waren. Am 8. August 92 standen die beiden Bands dann im Olympiastadion von Montreal auf der Bühne, als das Fiasko doppelt zuschlug.
During Fade to Black, I'm up there playing the part, and these colored flames are going off. I'm a little confused on where I should be. I walk forward, I walk back.
We have these flashes of magnesium that burns at 1,200 degrees, 1,800 degrees, who knows, but hot enough to melt metal.
The pyro guy doesn't see me that I've walked back out there. A big colored flame goes right up under me. And instantly I, squint and turn.
James Hetfield looks like that torch that they carry up the stairs to light the Olympic fire.
So I'm burnt, all my arm, my hand completely down to the bone. The side of my face, hair gone, part of my back.
I said, "You all right, man?" He looked at me and he was shaking, and he brought up his hand, and I could literally see the skin rising off his hand and blister.
We see some guy come up and dump him with water and then cover him.
Well, that felt great for a second. Then I looked down and watched the skin just rising and things going wrong.
Total confusion, and adding to the mix, 50,000 people.
This is in Montreal, French speaking everywhere. We're trying to explain what's going on. Can we get to a hospital, please? A hospital, yes.
And his skin is bubbling like on the Toxic Avenger.
They're calling, for an ambulance, and the security guys are kind of walking around, and the one guy bumps into my hand, I remember, and I just lost it. I screamed, I punched him right in the nuts.
I'm going, oh my God, it's over. Oh my God, our band is done.
Lars übernahm es, die verstörten, aufgeregten Massen zu beruhigen.
There was an incident with the pyrotechnics. Unfortunately, James is on his way to the hospital right now, and we're very sorry, but we can't continue the concert for you guys tonight.
This is pain I've never felt in my whole life. And it won't go away. I'm freaking at this point, Anxiety, we got to get moving.
We got him into ER. The doctors and nurses, they were great. They cut off his rings, his fingers were swelling. It was not a pretty sight. Because with the pain he was still going through and the unknown future that this was pointing the way to, one of his first thoughts was getting a replacement guitar guy to make sure the tour didn't have to stop.
James hatte an der linken Hand und an beiden Armen Verbrennungen 2. und 3. Grades erlitten. Er war in eine 4 Meter hohe, unendlich heiße Feuersäule getreten und hatte überlebt. Seine Zukunft in der Band jedoch war mehr als ungewiss. In der Zwischenzeit wartete im Olympiastadion eine gespannte Menge auf den Auftritt von Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses could have come out and saved the day by going out and playing a 3-hour blistering set.
That didn't happen.
We'll come back and finish our concert and play again for you as soon as we can within the next couple of months. Thank you, Montreal. We're sorry, okay?
James Hetfield erlitt schwerste Verbrennungen, als er an diesem 8. August 92 unkontrolliert in eine Feuersäule trat. Doch erst Stunden später übernahm die Hauptband Guns N' Roses mit ihrem Sänger Axl Rose das Zepter.
He could have been the hero of the day, We continue the show, and, the band plays on, and we're here to bring music, and he throws this fit.
Axl's monitor system wasn't to his liking. Then Storm 2 of the evening kind of happened.
He'd said something into the mic and just threw it down and walked off stage. Axl didn't want to be outdone. And that's when all hell broke loose.
So the kids start freaking, turning over cop cars, fighting the police, burning everything inside.
People just storming into the grandstands and destroying everything. Some cars were on fire, there were people hurt, and we couldn't leave.
I go and light myself on fire, and he upstages me.
And so we went into the dressing room, and they're acting like nothing happened.
Axl's down there with the cigarette holder in one hand and the champagne glass in the other. So my voice is giving me trouble. Your voice is giving me trouble. You shouldn't probably be drinking or smoking.
And it reminded me of what it must have looked like when Rome burned and Nero played a fiddle.
We can relate to Axl and his attitude, So we learned quite a bit on what not to do.
Isn't it funny how history has almost erased Guns N' Roses? One of the great frontmen in the past 20 years disappeared. Yet Metallica continues to play anywhere in the world in front of any mass of people, comes out with a new record which will always go platinum. They are the Led Zeppelin of this generation.
Am Tag nach dem Unfall wurde Hetfield aus dem Krankenhaus entlassen und begann ein schmerzhaftes, aus 90-minütigen Sitzungen bestehendes Ritual. Wochen vergingen, bis er wieder eine Faust machen konnte, vom Gitarrespielen ganz zu schweigen.
This is not going to bring us down, you know. This is going to take a lot more than that to stop Metallica. We got a friend out to fill in. It's like, you know, I can still sing.
At the time, it was like he wasn't sure that he was going to ever play again.
So John Marshall has been our savior quite a few times. So it pays, you know, if you're a roadie, learn the band's songs. You could end up on stage with them.
He was very, very, very motivated to heal himself as quickly as possible. And James is the kind of guy who doesn't like letting people down.
We've asked a lot from James Hetfield as a band, as people, and he's delivered every time.
It was always, I'm going to play. This is my life, and I don't care what happens. I'm going to continue.
Nach 2,5 Jahren auf Tour entschieden sich Metallica im Sommer 94, eine lang überfällige, unbefristete Pause einzulegen. Kirk studierte Film und asiatische Kunst. Lars widmete sich dem Tauchsport und stürzte sich in die Kunstszene. Jason arbeitete an neuen Musikprojekten und James ging seinen eigenen Hobbys nach.
Safer hobbies like hunting, and now I got a motorcycle, hot rods, and, you know, wakeboarding, snowboarding. Plenty of outdoor danger. I love it. Live for it.
Als sie sich ein Jahr später, Ende 1995, wieder trafen, waren sie stärker als jemals zuvor. Im Studio herrschte ein frischer und verbindender Geist.
There was a total sense of respect and a total sense of being at ease with what the other person was bringing into it.
Let's lay back a little bit. Let's let Jason and Kirk play what they feel. You know, instead of we're standing over behind them, you know, tapping them on the shoulder. That note, no. I didn't write that note for you. It got really, it was stiff.
Im Juni 96 veröffentlichten Metallica mit Load ihr erstes Studioalbum in 5 Jahren. Aber obwohl ihr 6. Album auf Nummer 1 in die Billboard-Charts einstieg, bedeutete es einen unerwarteten Rückschlag.
I can understand, like, this kid has the photo from 1991 from the Black Album. That's my Metallica. The next photo he sees is 5 years later, and it's on this other record. These guys on the back in Cuban pimp suits with martinis and cigars and no hair. Who is that? It says Metallica on there, but I don't recognize these people.
We were doing the Unplugged in New York. They all showed up, all 4 of the guys. They're all sitting in a row, and they all had these new short haircuts and stuff. It was pretty funny. So Mike wrote some stuff on his bass about friends not letting friends get friends' haircuts, because they were all GQ looking and cleaned up and stuff.
Metallica is all about music, not the length of our hair.
We've heard the word sell out, you know, from way back.
Nowadays, I welcome it. Come with me with what you got.
Yes, we sell out. Every seat in the house, every time we play, anywhere we play.
Nach fast 20 gemeinsamen Jahren haben Metallica noch immer nicht vor, das Tempo zu drosseln. Mit der Veröffentlichung ihres 7. Albums Reload 98 widmete sich die Band wieder dem, was sie am liebsten tut, nämlich Live-Konzerte zu geben.
The upside is playing with 3 of the greatest musicians I've ever played with in my life. And going out on stage and watching the look on the fans' faces when we play their favorite songs, and just to feed off that energy that comes off the crowd, you know? That's a really amazing thing.
And that's why they keep coming back every time, because we have delivered every time live. That is our forte, and it will hopefully continue to be for quite some time.
And I think that the biggest accomplishment that we can do is to make that last another 10 or 20 years, and finding a way to stick around and challenging ourselves and challenging our audience. And that, I think, will be the ultimate Metallica accomplishment.
We can play kind of whatever, wherever we want. This freedom is just awesome. There's no stop sign in front of us yet, man. We're gonna roll on, and because, you know, like I said, this is family, and we don't know anything else, man. That's it.